Hey everybody, it's Emily at Arg Schooling, and today I'm going to be doing another obnoxiously large book haul. Does not matter what my intentions are going into the month, I still end up buying the same amount of stuff. Like, I don't know how this happened, I just know that it did. So I'm just going to run through. I have a lot of things here to show you. So let's just get into it. I had pre-ordered a lot of things in February. So let me just show you the pre-orders first. I have Free Water by Amina Lukman Dawson. This I was intending to read during Black History Month and I just didn't get to it yet. So I'm planning on reading this sometime in the very near future because I just think this is a book I'm gonna love. This is a story about a boy and his sister, I believe, and they were enslaved. And they managed to run away from the plantation, and they go and live in the swamp with this community of other people who also escaped slavery. And they have this community of escaped enslaved people. And it's based on true stuff. I don't know if this specifically is a true story, but I know that it's based on the fact that there were actual communities like this. So I just thought it sounded like a great middle grade story, and I'm looking forward to reading it at some point. One of my most, highly anticipated books this year is Ruta Sepetys' new book, I Must Betray You. I've just been really hyped for this. I really want to read it soon. This is a story about the Romanian Revolution in the late 1980s. I love that she writes about things that just don't generally get written about. There's not a lot of historical fiction on this subject matter. And that's kind of her thing. She writes stories that are often untold. And I love that. And so I'm really excited to pick this up. Her writing is gorgeous. I'm sure I'm going to love it. One of these days, I'm going to do a vlog where I read all of the Ruta Sepetys that I own, because I'm pretty sure at this point I have all of her books, and I've only read one of them. But it's one of my favorite books, so I'm like, why have I not read more? I don't know. I pre-ordered Once More with Chutzpah, and this is by Haley Neal. I just loved the premise of this book. It's contemporary. This is a story about a girl and her brother. They're teenagers. They're going on a birthright trip to Israel. She's discovering her sexuality. I just think this is the thing I always wanted to do. I begged and begged and begged my mother to let me go on a birthright trip when I was in high school, and she would not. But I always wanted to go to Israel, and so I'm going to live out that fantasy. I'm going to read this book. I have Wishing Upon the Same Stars. This is by Jaketa Namar Feldman, and this one is about a girl who is an immigrant in America. She's moved to Texas with her family, and they live in a predominantly Arab neighborhood. And she feels like the odd girl out. She becomes friends with a Jewish girl in town, and they share their culture with each other. It just sounds like a story I'm gonna love. I love middle grade like this. I have several books similar. Right next to me, I also have A Place at the Table by Saeed Farouki and Laura Chauvin. I've had this on my TBR for a while. These sound like they'd be great to pair together. I don't know, but I think this is going to be great. I've been going out on a limb lately and pre-ordering things based on synopsis and not as much on is this an author that I've already read and loved. I pre-ordered Mirror Girls by Kelly McWilliams. This is a story about twins, and I believe one is light-skinned and one is darker-skinned, and this is set during the Civil Rights Movement. And so one of the girls, I think they were separated at birth, perhaps. I don't know. I didn't read too deeply into the synopsis, but I'm pretty sure they were separated at birth, and one of them is raised as a white person, and one of them with the darker skin is obviously raised as an African American. And so they have very different views going into the Civil Rights Movement. There might be some kind of magical element in this as well, like ghosts or something maybe, I'm not sure. So honestly, why I purchased this, is that a buzzword for me? I love stories about twins. Love that. I'm always looking for things with twins. I love stories that are historical but that have a little bit of magic to them. I love stories set during tumultuous times, so Civil Rights Movement. So I just think this is going to be a really good read. I'm looking forward to it. I pre-ordered the paperback version of this book, The Woman They Could Not Silence, the shocking story of a woman who dared to fight back by Kate Moore. I've just been really wanting to read this. This is one of my other buzzwords. I love stories about women who were wrongly put into institutions and like the ways that they cope or fight back or are able to get out of that situation. And that's what this is. It's 1860, the Civil War is brewing, and her husband is plotting against her because he feels threatened by her intelligence. And so he has her institutionalized. And it's her dealing with that. And this is a true story, and it's nonfiction. I cannot wait to read this. I feel like I'm gonna absolutely love it. I have Rebel Daughter by Lori Banoff Kaufman. And this one is a story about Queen Esther, you know, the biblical Queen Esther. Purim is coming up, and I kind of wanted to try to fit this in somewhere. I don't know. I have a lot of stuff going on in my March TBR. Will this fit? I don't know, but I'd like it to. I've honestly never read a historical fiction set during that time period. I'm interested to see what the author did with this. And then I also pre-ordered The School of Mirrors by Ava Stachniak. This is set during the French Revolution, and I've just been looking for things on that time period because I haven't read a lot about the French Revolution, but it's a time period that I feel like I'd like to read more about. So those are all the things that I pre-ordered for February. I also bought some things for potential things for Build Your Library. I've been kind of toying with the idea of a civil rights unit study, and when will that happen? I don't know. Maybe not for a long while, but I've been collecting things. So I have Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice by Philip Hughes. So this looks like it'll be a really interesting read. I also picked up Freedom's Children, Young Civil Rights Activists Tell Their Own Stories by Ellen Levine. Self-explanatory. I don't know that much going into this, but it sounds like it'll be another interesting potential for that. I have Betty Before X. This is by Ilyasah Shabazz and Renee Watson. I think this is about the wife of Malcolm X. I know it has something to do with Malcolm X. I think this is about his wife, and it's a story about her childhood. And yeah, it says, before Betty Shabazz met Malcolm X and became a mother, educator, and world-renowned activist, she was simply a girl. And in this book, inspired by real life and fictionalized through collaboration with lauded novelist Renee Watson, Ilyasah Shabazz illuminates 4 important years in her mother's childhood. So yeah, so this is Malcolm X's daughter writing about her mother's childhood. So it sounds like it's going to be great. I purchased the young reader's version of Hidden Figures, and actually this is going in level 4, not the civil rights thing, but although maybe there will be some overlap, I don't know. But I wanted to put this in level 4 because I was looking for something that covered both civil rights and the space race. And I was like, why have I not picked this up sooner? So now I have this. And I have this that, I don't know, this has some potential in various things. I also want to do a World War I unit. And so I have the Harlem Hellfighters, When Pride Met Courage by Walter Dean Myers and Bill Miles. And I'm actually reading this right now because this is also going to be one of my recommendations for Black History Month on History Book by Book. So I'm all over the place with this, but this is a World War I story. This is nonfiction, and it's about the African-American regiments that fought during the war, and it's really interesting. I'm about, I don't know, just over halfway through, and I'm really enjoying the read because this is a topic that I vaguely know about, but I have never read anything specifically about it, so I like going into things like that with a middle grade book because it gives you a very basic understanding of the subject. And then if I want to know more, I find the more adult, difficult reading more accessible because I have the baseline knowledge. I also have a couple World War I things that I picked up. I have The Button War by Avi, which I already read and really enjoyed, although enjoy is a difficult word to use. I don't know if I enjoyed, but I found it riveting. This is a middle grade, but I'd say this is bordering on young adult. This is, I had actually picked it up as a potential for level 4. And then went, no, this is not appropriate, I don't think, for that age group. But this is definitely worth a read if you are looking for World War I stories. It's very Lord of the Flies inspired, I would say. It's a group of boys, and they live in this Polish village that has already been sort of invaded by Russia, and Russian soldiers are stationed there, and they're kind of used to that, but like it makes people uneasy in the village. And suddenly the Germans invade, and there's fighting between the Germans and the Russians. This is like the dawn of the war, so it's like 1914. And the boys start this game, inspired by the bully of the group. He starts this game where they have to collect a button from the soldiers, and the person who gets the best button is the king of the village. And to get the button, you have to steal it. You can't ask for it. And so they do these increasingly more dangerous things, knowing that this is a terrible idea. Bad things happen. So like it's kind of dark for the age group, but it's also really, really well done, and I definitely think it's worth a read. But I would definitely recommend it for like 11 and up. And then I bought The Skylark's War by Hilary McKay, and this is a World War I story about a girl living in England during the war, and I think her brother gets sent, he's sent to the war, about her brother and also her cousin Rupert. And she really wants to be educated, and when the war breaks out, her cousin is enlisted and declared missing. I feel like I'm rambling now. I don't really know what this is about, but it's World War I, and I'm always looking for World War I books. I have some things here that I bought for my daughter. She is 12 going on 13. She'll be 13 next month. So I bought The Seventh Handmaiden by Judith Pransky. This is another Esther story. I wanted to do this as a read aloud with her, but now I'm nervous we're not going to have time for it before Purim starts. But this is a story about Queen Esther. I think it's told from the perspective of her handmaiden, hence the seventh handmaiden. And so she's telling the story about what's happening with Queen Esther. I don't really know too much about this. I bought it kind of on a whim because I saw it was recommended from something. It was nominated, I think, for an award, but I decided to get it in case we wanted to squeeze that in. I bought Too Bright to See by Kyle Lukoff. I've just seen this book absolutely everywhere and decided that we should pick this up. I don't know if we'll do this as a read aloud or if I'm just going to hand it to her, but I know this is about an 11-year-old. It says 11-year-old Bug is used to haunted things. After all, the occasional cold spot or mysteriously slamming door is to be expected when your house is almost as old as the dirt it sits on. But when a new presence makes itself known the summer before Bug starts middle school, it's clear that this spirit is intent on communicating something directly to Bug, but what and why? As Bug begins to untangle the mystery of the new ghost, an altogether different truth tugs free. It's the answer to a question of identity, one Bug never even thought to ask. So I think this is about a child figuring out their gender identity. It sounded like a really good read. We've been on a World War II kick, specifically a Holocaust kick, reading a lot of stuff. And so I have two books that I picked up. This one is something I bought for us to read together. This is Out of Hiding, A Holocaust Survivor's Journey to America by Ruth Gruner. This is something I thought she would find interesting because we've read a lot of stuff about like people surviving either in hiding or in camps and that kind of thing. I thought she might find it interesting to read about what happens after, like when you've survived, what then? So I think this is a story about a girl and her family who managed to survive while in hiding, and they immigrate to America. And so it's her experiences with that. I don't know anything about this book. I just picked it up because I was looking for that specific thing for her, and this sounded like it would be promising. Then I have this book that I got kind of for me, but maybe we'll read some of it together, and it's called Why? Explaining the Holocaust. And this is written by a professor of history, and he's like a Holocaust expert, and he wrote this book about how to explain the Holocaust. And so it covers things like why the Jews, why the Germans, why did they murder them, why this swift and sweeping, why didn't more Jews fight back, and like why did survival rates diverge. So it sounds like a really interesting read. I feel like I've read a lot of things, but I'm struggling when she asks me questions like how do I respond to that? Like I don't know why this happened. I can't tell you exactly, besides that Hitler was evil and diabolical and found people like him to act this out. But like I want to read this so I can kind of better answer her questions. And along those same lines, I have been looking. I want to do a Holocaust unit study, like really bad. I've got a lot of stuff. I've been looking for something that could work as a spine. And I stumbled upon this book. I don't know yet if I like it enough for it to be a spine. We're reading it together. And that is Tell Them We Remember, The Story of the Holocaust by Susan D. Bachrach. And this is actually working pretty well for what we're doing with it. So we've just been reading a couple pages at a time. It's put together by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, which is amazing. If you've never been there and you have the ability to do so, I recommend going. But it's put together by them, so there's a lot of like pictures in here of things that you would see if you went to the museum. They do the thing in here where you're following certain children and people and what happened to them. And if you go to that museum, they give you like a little passport type thing at the beginning, or at least they did. I haven't been there in like 20 years. But when I went, they gave you like a little passport with a person's picture and some information about them, and it told you like what happened to them during the Holocaust. So some of that is in here too. But I like that this is pretty, gives some brief information about various things like resistance and what life was like in the ghettos and the war itself, like what happened, and Kristallnacht and that sort of thing. So it's not deep, but if you want to find a spine and then you branch off and do other things around that spine to go further, this might fit the bill for that. I picked up Mightier Than the Sword, Rebels, Reformers, and Revolutionaries Who Changed the World Through Writing, and this is by Rochelle Melander. And I got this because it won the Sybils for nonfiction, and I thought it would be an interesting addition to our morning basket time. So we've only done like 2 stories out of here. We read about Phyllis Wheatley, and we read about Hans and Sophie Scholl. And what I like about this is it gives like an overview of that person and their life, so you get like a biography, but it also talks more about like how you can emulate what they did with your writing. Like, for example, we read about Hans and Sophie Scholl and how they wrote the pamphlets to protest the Nazis. It has the biography, but then it has the Right to Know, where it tells you like how specifically they used writing in their life. And then Right Now is like a kind of an assignment, if you will. And so for Hans and Sophie Scholl, it says, if you created a campaign to critique a policy in your school, community, or government, what would it be about? And then what form would it take? Choose a topic and create a critique document. So it's a really cool resource, I think. So we are going to slowly read through this during our morning time. And then I don't know why I bought this. Did I need this? No. But I saw Arlene from Arlene & Company talking about this in a reel, I think, on Instagram, and I bought it because of course I did. And that is Only in America, The Weird and Wonderful 50 States. I already own like 4 books, I think, about the 50 states, but this is beautiful. It's so pretty. Like, did I need it? No. But do I want it? Yes. So I have this now. We haven't started it yet because we're like not even to the Revolutionary War in our American history that we're doing. But I want to do a 50-state study with Regina. And so we're going to go through this now because I bought it, so we're going to use it. So we're going to go through that and see what we end up doing with it. I bought this for Sarah, honestly. Although it sounds really cute, so I'm probably going to read it too. And that's A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon by Karen Romano Young. It just sounds like a Sarah book. I don't know. Sarah's 22. I bought her a middle grade. But it's about libraries. It says reading is believing. Sarah wants to be a librarian. There's raccoons in it. And it sounds like this is a book that if Sarah had picked it up when she was small, would probably have been her favorite book. So I bought this for her. It's all about libraries, and the end pages look like a library book. I love it. So I think it's a story about like a library is getting closed and they're fighting to save it or something along those lines. And I don't know how the raccoons play into that, but I'm interested to find out. I treated myself to a few things. I have Tokyo Ever After by Amiko Jean. Last year I read While I Was Away by Waka T. Brown, about a girl traveling to Japan to live with her grandmother for an extended stay so she could like learn more about her heritage and study Japanese. And so I absolutely love that. And I was like, what else is there like that? I want another book like that. And so this came out last year, and this is a story, not exactly along the same lines as that one, but this is a story about a girl who is a Japanese American, and she finds out that her father is the king of Japan or something like that. She found out that her unknown father is actually none other than the crown prince of Japan. So she's discovered that she's royalty, and so she goes to Japan and lives out her fantasies of being royal. It fits what I was looking for as far as, like, I wanted a story where somebody's traveling to Japan, maybe for the first time, and they're experiencing a new culture. And, like, I'm obsessed with Japan and Asia and any stories set in Asia, really. And so I just think this is gonna be fun. I hope it's fun. And then I bought The Last Year of the War by Susan Meisner. You guys, I think I now own 4 of Susan Meisner's books, and I have read none of them. They all sound so good, so I keep buying them, and I don't know why. This one is set in 1943, and the reason I bought it is because it's about a German American and a Japanese American and their experiences in internment. And only recently a friend of mine sent me Monica Hesse's book, The War Outside, which is the same thing. And I'm like, how have I never heard about the German Americans being interned? Like, that's news to me. I've heard about the Japanese internment and I've read extensively about it, but never have I ever read anything that had to do with the German Americans being interned. So I'm like, I need more of that. Have I read any of it? No. But now I own 2 things about that. I have a problem, you guys. And then my husband was able to secure me a subscription to Nightworms, which I don't read nearly enough horror. I love horror. I love scary movies. I love scary books. Like, I grew up reading Stephen King. Like, that was my childhood favorites. I read a lot of Stephen King when I was a kid. And I've been wanting to read more stuff, but I just, like, don't know what to read. So, my husband got me Nightworms, which is a horror subscription box, and you get 2 books usually and some other fun things. And so I've been just like loving this. Have I read any of the things I've gotten yet? No. I'm busy and I have a lot of things to read, but I like really want to get to both of these. I was able to get the January and the February in the same month because they had a supply issue. So the January box didn't get to me until like the very beginning of the month, and then a few weeks later I got the February box. The January box was a Shirley Jackson inspired one, so we got a Shirley Jackson book. We got The Sundial, which is one I've never heard of, so I'm really interested in that. I really enjoyed the Shirley Jackson that I've read. I've read The Haunting of Hill House, and I've read We've Always Lived in the Castle, and I've read The Lottery. So really excited to read more of her writing. And then this book sounds just like so good, and I cannot wait to get to it. Like, I really want to throw aside everything and read the Nightworms stuff I've got because all of it sounds so good. This is When Things Get Dark, and this is a Shirley Jackson inspired short story collection. And it's got tons of authors in here. We have, what do we have? We have Josh Malerman, Shauna McGuire is in here. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Carmen Maria Machado, Paul Tremblay, Stephen Graham Jones. So, like, I really want to get to this. You also get some fun stuff. Like, I have a bookmark from this, a Shirley Jackson, like, heavy metal inspired sticker, a piece of artwork inspired by Shirley Jackson, and it has, like, quotes on the back. This is, like, a little signed book plate thing for the book. So there's like goodies in here. And then the February one, both of these books were on my TBR. Like, I wanted them but hadn't purchased them yet. So I was so excited. I have Waif by Samantha Kolsnick, and this is about a woman who gets involved in some kind of seedy underground pornography. And I've heard people mention this book several times, and it just sounds like something that I like novellas too. And it sounds like something that I would probably enjoy, although it's definitely out of my comfort zone. This is not the kind of thing I normally read, but I'm looking to expand my horror tastes. And then also I got the new Christopher Golden. I now own 4 of Christopher, oh no, I think I own like 5 of Christopher Golden's books. And I've read none of them. What am I doing? I've met him. a few times. He's a lovely man. I'm sure his books are great, so I need to read something. So this is Road of Bones, and I don't really know much about this, honestly. I did not read the synopsis because I didn't want to know too much going in, but I just know that it's something to do with a highway in Siberia. So again, we have the bookmark here. It came with a sticker again, so we have this guy. This one actually came with tea, which I found exciting. Oh, both books had a book plate that's signed by the author. And this is also a letter written by the author, like, about the book. Highly recommend checking out Nightworms if you're looking for a horror subscription box. I've been very pleased with everything so far. All of the books sound really great. I know that next month they kind of started giving spoilers, and I didn't know that, and I was accidentally spoiled, so I kind of know what's happening in the March one already. But I'm still excited because it's all stuff that I'm like, I would normally purchase on my own anyway. So like, yay for things that I already like know about but hadn't bought yet. So very excited for all of that. I have a lot of things here and I don't know how to pick all of this up. So I'm just going to stack it next to me and we'll work with that. My pretties. I have 29 books here, which is, you know, fine. I just need to find room to put all of this. Get ready though, guys, because it's March and March is my birthday month. So get ready for an absurd book haul. I just know it's going to be out of hand. But it's fine. I have big plans to do some cleaning and rearranging of the books. There's going to be a purge happening soon so I can make some space because I'm going to move this out of the way before I hurt myself. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Did you get any fun new things in the month of February? Let me know down below in the comments and we can chat about it. Until next time, happy reading. Bye.